Welcome back to the CMF Conspiracies Podcast.
Where we dig deep into those theories that keep you up at night.
And tonight, we're tackling a listener-submitted theory that's got the internet buzzing.
It really has.
The potential hidden backstory for Donkey from Shrek.
Donkey!
Yeah.
All right.
That's right, we're diving into the swamp to figure out if our favorite waffle-loving sidekick might actually have a connection to another classic fairy tale.
Okay.
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, interesting.
So we're going to be looking at two main sources for this.
Okay.
A Reddit thread where this theory originated, and a Screen Rant article that explores it in detail.
Sounds good.
So the theory put forward by Reddit user Jeremy V is that Donkey is actually Lampwick.
Lampwick.
The boy from Pinocchio who's transformed into a donkey on Pleasure Island.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, before we jump in, quick reminder for anyone who might not remember that part of Pinocchio, Pleasure Island, is this, let's say anything goes place that turns bad boys into donkeys.
Uh-huh.
Pretty grim stuff.
It is dark, and at first glance, linking Donkey to that story might seem like a stretch, but there are some interesting points to consider. Pinocchio is notably the only other fairy tale that features talking donkeys.
Right.
It's not exactly a common theme.
Yeah, and not only that, but Pinocchio himself actually appears in the very same scene where we first meet Donkey.
Almost like a little wink from the filmmakers, right?
Exactly. Plus, Donkey's being sold by an old lady in that scene.
Yeah.
Which reminded me how Lampwick ends up being sold, too, in the original story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the Screen Rant article highlights some interesting things within the Shrek movies themselves that seem to back up this theory. For example, Donkey mentions being bullied as a kid. Makes you wonder, would a donkey who'd always been a donkey even really understand the concept of bullying?
It's like he's hinting at a whole past life, a past that involved being a human kid. And that body swap scene in Shrek the Third with Puss in Boots, that always gets me. Puss is totally freaking out trying to control his hee-haws, and Donkey's just like, oh yeah, I had to learn to do that too. Almost like he wasn't born with the ability to talk, which, wouldn't be the case if he was always a donkey.
It's a curious detail, isn't it? Makes you wonder if the filmmakers were intentionally dropping these little hints, or if fans are reading too much into things.
That's the fun part though, right?
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't intentional, these connections can make us look at the story in a whole new light.
Absolutely. But before we get completely swept away by this theory, we do need to look at the other side. The Shrek DVD commentary mentions that the filmmakers originally pictured Donkey as a regular donkey who was cursed, not a Pinocchio connection.
Ah, so the curse explains the talking, but not the potential human past.
Right. It seems like in the early stages they were going for a more traditional talking animal trope rather than a direct link to Pinocchio.
Okay, but that curse idea never actually made it into the films themselves, did it?
No, it didn't. So on the one hand, you could say that makes the theory even more plausible. Like, they intentionally left that part out to keep the Pinocchio connection open. But on the other hand, sometimes a discarded idea is just that discarded. It might not have anything to do with wanting to hint at a bigger backstory.
That's a good point. It's easy to get carried away connecting the dots, especially when it comes to a theory like this.
It is. But what I find so interesting about this theory, regardless of whether it's true or not, is how it changes the way we see Donkey.
Yeah.
It adds a layer of depth to his character, even a touch of tragedy. I mean, imagine if he is Lampwick forever carrying the weight of that transformation. The memory of Pleasure Island. Suddenly, his insecurities in those moments where he feels out of place take on a whole new meaning.
Right? It's like we're seeing those moments through a different lens. Instead of just comedic relief, it's like we're getting glimpses of his inner struggle, the part of him that might still be grappling with what happened to him.
Exactly. And it makes his friendship with Shrek even more powerful. Shrek, who's also an outcast in his own way, accepts Donkey unconditionally. He doesn't care about Donkey's past or whether he was once human. He sees Donkey for who he is now.
That's one of the things I love most about the Shrek movies, that theme of acceptance and finding your people, even if they're a little different.
Absolutely. And if we think about this theory in the context of those themes, it raises some really interesting questions.
Yeah.
Like, if Donkey is Lampwick, is his transformation a punishment? Or could it be seen as a chance for redemption, a chance to start over and forge a new path?
Ooh, that's deep. And what about all the other boys who were turned into donkeys on Pleasure Island? Are they out there somewhere also trying to make sense of their new lives?
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? And here's another question that this theory brings up. If Donkey is Lampwick, what does that mean for his happy ending with Dragon? Could she be a transformed character too?
Okay, whoa. That never even crossed my mind. Now I'm picturing a whole backstory for Dragon too. What if she was some kind of mythical creature who was trapped in a human form, and then somehow She and Donkey found each other, and despite their transformations, they were able to connect on a deeper level.
It's like the theory just keeps unfolding, revealing new layers and possibilities. And that's what makes these kinds of deep dives so fascinating. They invite us to think critically and creatively, to question what we think we know, and explore those what-ifs.
It's like opening a door to a whole new world within the story we already know and love. And even if we never get definitive answers, just the act of exploring these theories can deepen our appreciation for the story and the characters.
It really is. And this whole idea of transformation is such a powerful theme in fairy tales. It can represent so many things: growth, loss, change, even punishment. But in Donkey's case, if we accept this theory, it becomes a question of whether he was punished or given a chance to escape something even worse.
It makes you think about those classic fairy tales in a whole new way, doesn't it? Like, we often focus on the happy endings, but what about the characters who don't get those picture-perfect resolutions? What about the ones who are left with scars, both physical and emotional?
Exactly. And this theory encourages us to look beyond the surface and consider those more complex, perhaps even darker aspects of these stories.
This might be a bit of a leap, but it reminds me of how some people interpret fairy tales as metaphors for real-life trauma or societal issues. Like, maybe Pleasure Island isn't just a fantastical place. Maybe it represents something more real, something that can leave lasting effects on those who experience it.
That's an interesting perspective. And if we look at it that way, then Donkey's journey becomes even more significant. He's not just a funny sidekick, he's a survivor. And his resilience, his ability to find joy and connection despite his past, becomes a message of hope.
It's like he's saying, yeah, I've been through some stuff, but I'm not letting it define me. I'm still going to put myself out there, make friends, and find love.
And that's a powerful message, especially for anyone who's experienced hardship or feels like they're carrying the weight of their past.
Okay, I think we've officially ventured into deep philosophical territory here, but it's fascinating to consider all the ways this theory can make us think about these characters and their stories on a whole new level.
It is. And ultimately, whether or not Donkey is actually Lampwick, this theory has sparked a really engaging conversation about identity transformation and the power of storytelling.
Absolutely. It reminds us that even in seemingly simple stories like Shrek, there can be so much more going on beneath the surface. And it's up to us, as the viewers or the readers, to dig deeper and find those hidden layers.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? These stories can continue to evolve and grow in our minds long after we've experienced them.
It's like the story never truly ends. It just keeps unfolding in new and unexpected ways. So what does this all mean for you, dear listener? We've explored the theory, the evidence, the counterpoints, even some of the deeper implications. But now it's your turn to decide.
Do you think Donkey is Lampwick? Do the clues feel intentional, or are fans projecting a deeper meaning onto a fun kids movie?
Maybe rewatching the Shrek movies with this theory in mind will make you notice things you never did before.
Or perhaps you'll even go back and revisit Pinocchio, looking for parallels or additional hints.
Whether you're a die-hard Shrek fan or just a casual viewer, this theory gives us all a chance to think critically about those stories we think we know so well.
It reminds us that even in the most fantastical of tales, there can be echoes of real-life experiences, themes that resonate with us on a personal level.
And sometimes the most outlandish theories can spark the most insightful conversations.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mysteries of Donkey's past.
We'll leave you with this. If Donkey is Lampwick, does his transformation ultimately lead to a happy ending? Or is there a deeper, more bittersweet truth hidden within his tale? Keep those theories coming, and we'll see you on the next episode of the CMF Conspiracies Podcast.
Thank you for joining CMF Conspiracies Podcast. What do you think about the topic we covered today? Comment below with your thoughts on this subject. If you have a conspiracy you wish for us to deep dive into, please send your topic to our email address or leave it in the comments. Thank you again for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this.